She was attracted to you. You didn't change your looks. You didn't change your lifestyle. You didn't suddenly become less interesting. You just started talking. Not talking in general. Talking to secure something. Explaining how you feel. Asking where you stand. Trying to make sure everything is clear. And that's when it shifted. Her replies became shorter. Her energy cooled. The spark faded, almost invisibly. Attraction rarely dies because you said the wrong thing. It dies because your words reveal the wrong psychology. Because the moment you start talking to secure attraction, you subtly communicate that you're afraid of losing it, and fear is felt faster than confidence is spoken. Today, we're going to talk about the fastest way men talk themselves out of attraction, and why most don't even realize they're doing it. Attraction is not a logical process. It doesn't respond to arguments, explanations, or negotiations. It responds to emotional signals. Most men make the mistake of treating attraction like a problem that can be solved with clarity. They think if they just communicate well enough, explain themselves clearly enough, or reason through the situation calmly enough, everything will stabilize. But attraction doesn't operate in the rational mind. It operates underneath it. A woman can logically know that you are kind, intelligent, stable, and committed, and still feel her attraction fading. Not because you failed on paper, but because something in the emotional dynamic shifted. Attraction is felt before it is understood. It reacts to tension, presence, direction, emotional stability. It does not grow because you explained your intentions well. It grows because she feels something when she is around you. The moment you start trying to logically secure an emotional experience, you enter the wrong battlefield. You move from energy to explanation, from presence to persuasion. And persuasion is already a weak position. You don't talk someone into feeling chemistry. You don't reason someone into desire. The more you try to convince her why she should feel something, the more you communicate that you are unsure whether she does. And uncertainty about your own value is the first crack in attraction. This is where most men lose the frame. They stop being the emotional center and start becoming the emotional negotiator. And attraction does not respond to negotiation. It responds to embodied certainty. There is a subtle shift that kills attraction faster than almost anything else. It's the shift from expression to justification. Expression is clean. I like you. I enjoy spending time with you. I want to see you. There is no tension in it, no pressure, no hidden agenda. It stands on its own. Justification sounds different. I just don't understand why you've been distant. I just want clarity. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Notice the word just. It's rarely neutral. It softens the sentence because underneath it, there is fear. The moment you begin explaining why you deserve reassurance, you are no longer expressing yourself. You are trying to secure something. And that shift is felt immediately. Attraction thrives when your emotions feel self-contained. It weakens when they start leaning outward for stability. When you explain too much, clarify too much, or push for emotional guarantees, you signal that you are uncomfortable with uncertainty. And uncertainty is part of attraction. When a man moves from "I enjoy this" to "I need to know where this is going," the dynamic changes. The conversation may still be polite. She may still respond kindly. But something underneath it tightens. Because justification carries subtext. It says, "I need this to be safe." It says, "I need confirmation." It says, "I am not okay unless this is secure." The irony is brutal. The more you try to secure attraction verbally, the less secure you appear emotionally. And emotional security is one of the core traits that creates attraction in the first place. This is the fatal shift. You stop sharing your experience, and you start negotiating your value. When you justify yourself, you believe you are communicating clearly. But attraction doesn't react to your words. It reacts to the subtext underneath them. You might say, "I just want clarity." What she often hears is, "I'm not comfortable unless I know you won't leave." You might say, "I just want to understand where we stand." What she hears is, "My emotional stability depends on your answer." This is not about women being overly sensitive. It's about human psychology. We are wired to read emotional dependency faster than verbal confidence. Attraction thrives when a man feels emotionally grounded, when his mood, his direction, his sense of self do not fluctuate based on her immediate reassurance. The moment she senses that your calm depends on her validation, something shifts internally, not because she wants you insecure, but because security that depends on her is not security at all. When you over-explain, over-clarify, or over-pursue reassurance, the hidden message is simple: "I am afraid to lose you." And fear, even when politely phrased, reduces polarity. Desire needs space. It needs tension. It needs the sense that you choose her, not that you need her to regulate yourself. This is where many men misunderstand the situation. They think they are being mature by talking everything through immediately. But if the emotional driver behind the conversation is anxiety, she feels that long before she processes your logic. And once she feels that you are leaning emotionally, she instinctively leans back, not out of cruelty, not out of calculation, but because attraction pulls towards strength and moves away from instability. The hidden subtext always speaks louder than the sentence itself. The moment a man senses distance, he often makes the same mistake. He increases communication. More texts, longer messages, more emotional processing, more attempts to fix what feels slightly off. On the surface, it looks proactive. It looks mature. It even feels responsible. But underneath it, there is urgency, and urgency is rarely attractive. When attraction feels uncertain, the instinct is to close the gap, to reconnect immediately, to talk it through until everything feels stable again. But attraction does not grow under pressure. It grows in space. The more you talk to reduce your own discomfort, the more you amplify hers. Over-talking collapses mystery. It removes tension. It turns a dynamic experience into a constant emotional audit. Instead of feeling you, she starts evaluating you. And evaluation kills chemistry. There is a difference between confident communication and anxious clarification. Confident communication is calm, direct, and brief. Anxious clarification is repetitive, detailed, and slightly restless. When you send the third message to clear things up, you are no longer connecting. You are trying to regulate yourself through her response. And she feels that. Scarcity creates curiosity. Emotional steadiness creates safety. But constant verbal reassurance-seeking creates pressure. And pressure forces her nervous system into distance. The over-talking trap is subtle because it feels like effort. But attraction rarely fades from too little explanation. It fades from too much need behind it. Sometimes the strongest move is not another message. It is silence. There is a need that sounds healthy on the surface, but slowly erodes attraction underneath it. The need to be understood. Many men say, "I just want her to understand me." And that sounds reasonable. mature, emotionally aware, but attraction is not built in the space of emotional explanation. It is built in the space of emotional presence. When the desire to be understood becomes urgent, something shifts. You stop expressing yourself freely and start managing how she perceives you. You clarify more. You defend more. You expand on what you meant. You try to make sure there are no misunderstandings. But underneath that effort is a quiet dependency. You are asking her to validate your internal state. You are asking her to confirm that your perspective makes sense. And once again, your stability begins leaning outward. High attraction energy does not demand to be fully understood. It allows mystery. It tolerates ambiguity. It does not collapse under the fear of being slightly misread. When a man cannot tolerate being misunderstood, he becomes reactive. He explains faster. He justifies more quickly. He tries to correct the emotional atmosphere immediately. And in doing so, he communicates that misalignment threatens his sense of self. Attraction requires tension. Not conflict, but tension. The tension of two separate individuals choosing each other freely. When you desperately need to be understood, you dissolve that separation. You seek fusion instead of polarity. The integrated man does not panic when he is not fully interpreted. He remains centered. He knows who he is without requiring constant reflection from her. And paradoxically, that grounded detachment makes understanding more likely, because calm presence invites curiosity. Emotional urgency invites distance. Needing to be understood feels mature, but when it becomes a demand, it quietly kills desire. If over-explaining weakens attraction, what actually maintains it? Not silence as a tactic, not emotional withdrawal, not pretending not to care. What maintains attraction is emotional self-containment. Instead of explaining your feelings repeatedly, you embody them. If you enjoy her company, you show it through presence, eye contact, calm touch, decisive plans. You don't hold a press conference about it. Instead of seeking reassurance, you create experiences. Attraction grows in shared moments, not in analytical conversations about the state of the connection. Instead of asking where you stand somewhere. You have direction. You have momentum in your own life. You are moving forward regardless of temporary fluctuations in her mood. Attraction stabilizes when a man is internally stable, when he does not react to every small shift in energy, when he does not chase emotional certainty, when he can tolerate ambiguity without collapsing into over-communication. If she pulls back slightly, you don't rush in to close the gap. You observe. You stay relaxed. You let her feel the space. That space creates room for her curiosity to return. Confidence is not loud. It is not dominant. It is quiet self-trust. It is the ability to say less and mean more. When you speak, it is direct. When you express interest, it is clean. When you feel uncertainty, you handle it internally before turning it into a conversation. Attraction is maintained by tension, direction, and emotional steadiness, not by constant clarification. You don't secure desire by talking about it. You maintain it by being a man who is not destabilized by its natural fluctuations. Over-talking is rarely about communication. It's about fear. When you feel the urge to explain everything, clarify everything, secure everything, there is usually something older being activated. Fear of abandonment, fear of not being chosen, fear of being misunderstood and therefore rejected. Most men don't over-communicate because they love clarity. They over-communicate because uncertainty feels threatening. If her tone shifts slightly, your nervous system reacts. If she takes longer to reply, your mind starts filling in gaps. If she seems less expressive one evening, you feel the impulse to fix it immediately. That impulse is not maturity. It is anxiety, searching for relief. For many men, this pattern began long before dating. If approval was inconsistent growing up, you learned to monitor emotional signals carefully. You learned to correct tension quickly. You learned that harmony required effort. Now, in adult relationships, that same strategy appears as healthy communication. But underneath it is a childlike need for reassurance. When you overtalk, you are not trying to connect. You are trying to control the outcome. You are trying to reduce the possibility of loss by increasing explanation. But attraction cannot be controlled into existence. The brutal truth is this: if silence makes you panic, the problem is not her distance. It is your dependence on her response. The more your emotional state depends on her behavior, the more you will try to regulate it through conversation. And the more you do that, the more she feels the pressure of carrying your stability. Real confidence is the ability to sit with uncertainty without trying to immediately solve it, to feel tension without rushing to dissolve it, to remain grounded even when you don't have full reassurance. Overtalking is not a communication issue. It is an unprocessed fear of losing control. Now comes the uncomfortable part. If you stopped explaining, if you stopped chasing reassurance, if you stopped trying to secure the dynamic with words, what would actually happen? Would she lean in? Or would she slowly disappear? This is the brutal question most men avoid, because as long as you are talking, clarifying, fixing, and pursuing, you can tell yourself you are maintaining the connection. You can believe that your effort is the reason it still exists. But what if your effort is the only thing holding it together? If attraction only survives when you constantly manage it, it is not attraction. It is maintenance. If the moment you lean back, she drifts away, then the connection was already fragile. Your overcommunication didn't protect it. It delayed the realization. This is why silence feels so threatening. Silence removes your illusion of control. It forces reality to show itself. When you stop negotiating your value, two things can happen. Either she feels the space and moves closer, or she uses the space to exit. Both outcomes are clarity. Attraction that requires constant reassurance is already fading. Attraction that is real does not collapse the moment you stop explaining yourself. The brutal question is simple. Are you communicating because you are grounded or because you are afraid? And if fear is driving your words, then the problem was never your communication style. It was your need to secure what cannot be forced. Sometimes the strongest move is not another conversation. It is the willingness to see what remains when you stop trying to hold everything together. So what would have changed everything? Not a better explanation, not a longer conversation, not the perfect, emotionally intelligent message. What would have changed everything is this: you remaining centered when you first felt the shift. Instead of saying, "We need to talk about where this is going," you could have simply leaned back. Not as a tactic, not as manipulation, but as self-trust. When her energy dipped slightly, you could have maintained yours. When she became a little distant, you could have stayed warm, but unbothered. When uncertainty appeared, you could have tolerated it without rushing to eliminate it. Attraction breathes in space. The moment you panic and try to close that space, you suffocate it. What would have changed everything is emotional containment, feeling the discomfort internally without turning it into immediate external pressure. You continue planning your life. You continue your momentum. You continue choosing her, but not chasing her reassurance. And something interesting happens when you do that. If the attraction is real, she feels the shift. She senses that you are not destabilized. She feels the slight distance and begins leaning forward again. Not because you withdrew, but because you remained solid. And if she doesn't lean in, then the outcome becomes clear, without drama, without over-analysis, without self-negotiation. What would have changed everything is simple. You trusting that if she is meant to move closer, she will. And if she doesn't, you are still steady. Attraction cannot be forced into security, but it can be sustained by a man who does not crumble when it fluctuates. The fastest way men talk themselves out of attraction is by trying to talk themselves into security. They believe more clarity will create stability. More explanation will create understanding. More conversation will create certainty. But attraction was never built on certainty. It was built on emotional steadiness, on tension, on two independent people choosing each other without negotiation. The moment you start speaking from fear, your words carry weight they were never meant to carry. They stop being expression and start becoming protection. And protection signals vulnerability in a way confidence never does. This doesn't mean you should become silent, cold, or emotionally unavailable. It means your words must come from strength, not from anxiety, from self-trust, not from urgency. Attraction doesn't disappear because you care. It disappears when caring turns into control. The quiet truth is this: if you have to constantly secure someone's desire, it is already unstable. And if your stability depends on their reassurance, you will keep over-talking until something breaks. Say less, feel more, stay grounded, let attraction breathe, and let your presence speak louder than your explanations.